Hey, everybody, and thanks for listening to another episode of the Kick Your Boots Up podcast. This episode this week is extra special because we get to go down memory lane and talk about all of things rodeo queening, but also the future. Summer's coming up, and it's festival season and concert season, and we're going to talk about styling a concert outfit. So stay tuned. You won't want to miss out. This is going to be absolutely epic. And to get right into it, TK Trask from Nashville, originally South Dakota, has a really cool story to tell. Is the owner and founder and lead designer at Molly Gidget. And Molly Gidget is unique because it's in Nashville, right in the heart of country music. I mean, there's lots happening all the time. I know this girl is hard to peg down herself. She's got it all going on. But she's one of the incredible women that you want to get to know because her story is truly incredible. She has the kind of attitude that has no back down and doesn't take no for an answer. And she's the ultimate definition of boss babe. And so that's why I'm so excited to have her on the podcast to talk about her story. But I do need to talk about just the specifics of the outfits and the stuff that she gets to do. So Molly Gidget was created exclusively for red carpet, center stage, and for the unapologetically bold, as she says. So people that are willing to push the envelope a little bit with their fashion style and just go and take on all the sorts of stages across the world. I mean, she's been everywhere. You've seen her not only on the Miss Rodeo America stage, on Miss Rodeo America, the girl who just recently won. We love Emma Cameron. But also she's been on fashion show runways, the Grand Ole Opry, Nashville stages, on tour with George Strait, thanks to Katie Opperman. I personally have taken a recent interest, actually not recent, it's been a few years, but Runaway June is one of the bands that I like because they toured with Carrie Underwood. And so she gets to help style for Natalie Stovall. And truly, it's just so fun to have Tara here and to learn some of her wisdom. So Tara, after all of that, thank you so much for being on the podcast.
Thank you. Oh my gosh. I feel like I need you to remind me of all the things I've done every day. So we need to do this daily now.
Oh, I couldn't agree more. I know this is the best opportunity ever. Whatever you need, I will be there. I'm there to cheer you on.
Love it. Love it.
I wanted to get started with, I kind of follow this same trend on each episode. We get to know about the person before we really talk about everything that they do. So I guess for us to get started, tell us about your background, how you grew up, and then eventually we'll connect the dots of how fashion became a part of you. So how did you grow up?
Well, I grew up in Wall, South Dakota. And if you are familiar with Wall Drug, the free ice water store, you will know where I grew up. So I mean, there's billboards all over the United States. You know, you can't really miss it, especially if you're driving on I-90. But that's where I grew up. That was my hometown. I was lucky enough to be a ranch kid and a town kid. So during the school year, we would live in town. My mom was a teacher, so that's, was really easy. But then during the summer months, we would go out and live about 30 miles from Wall in a town called Creighton. And we would live on a ranch in the middle of nowhere. So riding horses, gathering cattle, branding, all of those things that is the usual for a ranch kid. I was able to be a part of for so many years, which I'm so blessed to. My dad's was a quarter horse rancher and had Charolais cattle and things like that. So as we grew up, though, they wanted to really downsize. So my dad moved his operation closer to Wall. So I was able to we live in town and still enjoy all of the things that ranch kids get to do. So I really grew up, a little bit country, a little bit rock and roll. And that's how my mom always, described it. And, I did 4-H. I was active in FFA, very active in National High School Rodeo Association. So many things that agriculture represents. And I'm so grateful because it has definitely kept me humble throughout my life and has, that Western influence has always been a part of my designs as well. So.
And TK, I love that because you said you're a little bit of country, a little bit of rock and roll. And I feel like that's your style. It shines through. Even if your client or customer isn't exactly the most country or doesn't want to be or whatever, I still feel like you always get to have some fringe. You get to throw that little extra flair. And that speaks to me too, because rodeo queening, that goes hand in hand, a little bit of country, a little bit of rock and roll. You kind of have to be involved in all of it. And so, there's just so many things that I could ask you there, but I can't help but tell everyone out there listening how you and I got connected. And that honestly, I was just actually talking off camera to one of the producers for the podcast, and it was just saying you came in for my life at such an opportune moment, such a needed time of like,
Oh,
I was in the stages of like, oh, I just lost Miss Rodeo America, first runner up. You know, say what you want about it, but in my mind, I was the first loser. And you and I can relate to that sense of like we're very competitive, very again not taking no for an answer, right? And so that was like a I don't want to say like rock bottom for me, but you definitely came in at the most opportune time, and you were just like, listen, sis, you're not alone. Welcome to the first runner up club. There's a bunch of us out there. We're still doing things, and I think you are, there's several out there, but you are one of the women that are a perfect example of you
oh,
don't have to win everything, and you don't have to, your what you thought was your goal isn't reach higher than your goal, because that was just like a stepping stone to get there. So I guess I want to say thank you officially,
oh,
of everyone for that. But then also I want to talk about like your rodeo queening career too, because we're not going to talk about age here because even I feel old now. But you were one of the
thank you.
yes, yes. You were one of the greats that I grew up looking up to. You know, like I heard your
Oh,
name, I saw you on the stage. Um, there were so many women, very few, I say so many, very few that I truly wanted to be like and act like and replicate. And I think for you, it shined through that it didn't matter. Like you were gonna make your own clothes if you had to. You were not gonna make up an excuse as to why you couldn't do something. And so do you remember anything in particular from your rodeo queen days?
oh my gosh. I remember so many things. It's kind of one of those things that still haunt me in my dreams at night. It's so, and I don't know if that happens with you too. You still have these pageant experiences in your
Yes.
dreams, but I look back on what really helped me get into my rodeo queen career was Lonnie Johnston Eakins. She was Miss National High School Rodeo Queen back in 1995, and she was the first truly rodeo queen that took the time to just say hello. I was 9 years old at the time. I had just did my first rodeo queen contest, and she signed signed an autograph, and she just got crowned and just made me feel like $1 million. And so when I started then to really get into rodeo queening, then the South Dakota High School Rodeo Queen title was the one that I wanted to have for sure on my resume. And lucky enough for me, I'm the first girl, in fact, still, I believe, the only girl in South Dakota high school rodeo history that held the title 3 years in a row. So
Wow.
I really overcame, and I really, did a lot with that. And ironically enough, Lonnie was the sponsorship announcer all 3 years when I competed. So I got to know her again on a personal level. Of course, I'm older, and so we got to really talk about a lot of things. But the fact that she, you know, initially just signed an autograph, asked me about myself, just made me feel like I could do anything after that. And then seeing her years later and just having her give me advice about my career, help me prepare for being Miss Rodeo South Dakota and going on to Miss Rodeo America. Those are the ladies that you will never forget. And to this day, I will be forever grateful for her words of wisdom and, all the things that she helped me do, that then in return, she always said, make sure you pass those moments and those, words of wisdom and all of that, make sure you pass it on to the next generations. And she goes, you never owe me anything but to pay it forward. And so that's what I really tried to do during, my queen career and even after. So I really feel like that's how we got connected. And just when we all put our hearts and souls into being a rodeo queen. It's not an easy thing to do.
No.
And to it has a definite end. And what I wanted every girl, leaving the Miss Rodeo America pageant that didn't wear the crown, because we all go there, we all want to be that.
Yes.
There's a plan A, obviously, but always make sure you have a plan B, because your life doesn't end at the end of Miss Rodeo America. It just begins. And there's so many things that you can go on and do. And you are one of those people that are showing that and showing the girls that, finished first, second, top 10, maybe didn't even place, that how you finish at any pageant doesn't mean that's, the end of your career, however you want to see it, or your life. You can go on and do bigger things and live out different dreams. I think that's the most exciting thing about life.
Well, thank you for your kind words. Again, I need you around every day hyping me up. That's so nice. But I mean, I learned from you, and I learned from a lot of rodeo queens that you were queening with as well, because that's part of it. And I will say it was really hard at the beginning to want to give it back and to want to pay it forward, because it's really confusing. But you're right.
Yes.
There's growth with that, and you learn. I mean, truly, you can probably attest to your own personal story. Like, you would not be where you are today had you have won. But same for me, I would not be where I'm at today had I have won, because of the different opportunities that came along that year that I would have been too busy being Miss Rodeo America. And same for you.
Exactly.
Um,
Exactly.
I can't help but think, though, through all of the bobby pins and the hairspray and all the sparkles and the rhinestone, that part we still love, that at some point in time you fell in love with designing your own wardrobe and getting
Mhm.
say in what you got to wear, and I can't help but think maybe that's how you ended up where you are today. Is that kind of the same?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think a lot of people have heard me say this, but I used my study halls in high school to not necessarily do my homework, but to either write my speeches or write speeches in general, or design, whether it was my rodeo queen clothing or just designing, just drawing in general. That was always my favorite parts of being a rodeo queen. Was I designed all of my outfits. I never, not once, didn't ever have a hand in any of them, which I'm pretty proud of, I guess, to
Yeah,
say the least.
you should be.
So I knew that that was always something that I wanted to continue, because it was, it made it mine. It made it my style. I was, not trying to necessarily copy anybody else. I was my own designer, which was great. And I could, experiment with different things. And I will say that when I gave up being Miss Rodeo South Dakota, I was like, oh man, I'm not gonna be able to design anymore. And I think that is what honestly that led me to what Molly and Gidget is today. And it was, I went from college. I always knew in college I wanted to at least open a clothing store. Boutiques were not as big as back then as they were today. So I went to these two boutiques in South Dakota that you couldn't find any of the clothes anywhere else. And so I loved that because it was such my style. And I would show up to different places and people would always be like, oh, where'd you get that? And I'm just like, oh, Shangri-La, or the other boutique in Mitchell. And it was always so fun. And I knew that that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to be able to give that same experience to other girls. So I launched Molly and Gidget in 2011 as a boutique, and then went with that for a while, I guess, until I went to grad school. I was also an intern at Country Music Television, and they also called me fancy, which is funny. People are like, oh, is it like fancy as in Reba, or is it fancy like you're a fancy dresser?
Yeah, what's the
I
level here?
always laughed. Exactly. I always laughed at that because it was one of those things that I was like, well, I took it as the positive, not the negative, but but they always, made me like just always complimented on my style. I was very, cowgirl. I always wore boots. And it stood out from the rest. And so they always told me that I needed to have a boutique or my own fashion line. So that really, like, I 100% after that was 2010. I was like, I'm going to do this. And so I launched an online boutique is what Molly and Gidget started out as. So I did that. But as I, started my career and worked with, different types of brands and things like that, it was harder to maintain Molly and Gidget as a boutique, just because inventory, going to market, it was too much. And I kind of started to take a little bit of a step back. I kept it going as much as I could, but it wasn't until I was at the National Cowgirl Museum and Hall of Fame that I was 100% sure I was going to launch it as a brand and as a fashion design, label, because I went to Vegas every year. And this was before Vegas was what it is now. but I created two pieces, and one was a bronze fringe skirt that I wore actually on stage, to present I think it was the photogenic award that the National Cowgirl Museum gave to Miss Rodeo America every year. I can't remember.
Okay.
But anyways,
yes.
I wore it on stage. And then the second piece was the infamous gold fringe jacket. So this was 2016 when I did that. And everybody like, where did you get this? Where are you doing? And I'm just like, I designed it. These are my own designs. It was so exciting. And I knew that moving forward, that's what Molly Gidget was going to be. It was going to be the things that you can't find everywhere else. Just the unique looks and that are all up in my head. And so 2 years later, I launched Molly Gidget as a full-fledged fashion label. And over the years, it became now what it is today, a center stage and red carpet. And I love the fact that I can evolve throughout the years. It's been well over 10 years since Molly Gidget came to be. So yeah, it's just kind of a crazy story on how it all came about, but I attribute it all back to, sitting in study hall designing my rodeo queen outfits. So
Isn't that crazy? I remember a memory I have of one of my best friends and I. We're sitting down studying same concept, and she was like, "Taylor, if you would just spend half the time that you spent on rodeo queen stuff studying for school, you might actually be a straight A student." So that's so relatable. I can't believe I had never heard that story before because yes, I totally get that, and I think it's cool too to have the name Molly and Gidget. It's your dog. Was it your dog's?
yes, it was our two toy poodles, Molly who came first, and she was very much a diva is what we always called her. And then Gidget came along later, and she was just this free spirit. So when I, came up with the concept of Molly and Gidget, I really wanted it to be, and this was the tagline back then, was where a old Hollywood diva meets a rock and roll cowgirl. So I wanted
Ooh.
to combine, kind of those two different personalities and those two, different styles. And it's funny because I look back at it now and it's still kind of the same, that's still seen through in my designs for sure.
Oh yeah, and it's like once a queen, always a queen. You've got the fringe, you've got the rock and roll spirit. So yeah, definitely. And I think what's cool for you is you've over time obviously evolved it from the boutique, but now it's on to bigger and better stages, let's say. You've done some pretty cool things, but I think it's still cool that you still take the time to design for like your specific friends, South Dakota girls for like
Oh
NFR
yeah.
and things like that. So what do you think has been like the hardest part about like building the character and keeping the same relationships, but also trying to grow your business and become more of an elite brand? Talk about that part of it.
Oh my gosh. There's been a lot of times where I've had to, set some boundaries of what I can and cannot do. And as much as I want to be everything to everybody, I mean, that's kind of the rodeo queen is
It
still in me a
is.
little bit.
Yes. Yes.
It doesn't serve me or the brand well to be that way. So I've had to really hone in on, okay, this is what Molly and Gidget is. This is what we stand for. This is the type of styles I do. This is, the extracurricular activities that, we participate in, specifically women's empowerment movement and sustainable fashion movements, as well as like some mental health movements as well. So I always want to make sure that whether you're a friend or, or a celebrity client or, whoever you are, I always want to make sure that you fit well with the brand, because Christian Siriano said it best that the people who wear your brand are a direct reflection of who your brand is. And so it's vital for me to make sure that the girls, understand what Molly and Gidget stands for, what our style is, and then make sure that the designs they, wear are reflective of not only my brand but their personality, and it's a perfect collaboration essentially. So
Oh yeah, and I think the perfect representation of this was Emma Cameron's well actually her all the outfits that you did. I think you did 3 or 4, but
oh I think it did I think so.
maybe even more than that, maybe more than I'm even counting, but I can't help but keep going back to the vest because I remember you posting the day that she wore it, which by the way, you finally got to post it. You've been waiting on it for this whole time. But I mean, first of all, explain it to everyone what you did. I'm going to say, spoiler alert, she said, why not wear a vest backwards? And some people would have thought it was so crazy, but Emma, I mean, it was a perfect example because you even wrote, and this is what I thought was so cool. And this represents you and your brand of like, you're not going to work with just anyone. You're going to work with the winners, the ones that are really pushing the limits and all that. And you wrote Miss Rodeo America 2024 on her appearance bag. And
yes,
some people probably thought that was bold, but I was like, that is bold in the best way. Like that's when you know. And so talk about the whole experience designing the vest. That was just so cool.
Oh yes. So, I will say Molly Gidget, what we are is edgy, bold, iconic, and stylish with just hints of Western and sparkle and feathers and, elements that really make the outfit unique and stand out. So when I talked with Emma, how Emma and I actually got associated is I judged her the year she won the National High School Rodeo Queen contest, which you know very well. And and so I followed her throughout her entire year as the National High School Rodeo Queen, and just was so proud of everything she had done and was just thoroughly impressed with who she was. And when she won Miss Rodeo New Mexico, I was like, oh my gosh, if you need anything, you let me know. Because at that point I was already in Nashville. I had done another gal's fashion show and Wrangler outfit for Miss Rodeo America. So I was a little unsure if I ever wanted to do it again. I'll put it that way.
Yes.
But Emma was just that person that I was like 100%. She embodies everything Molly Gidget is. And she actually reached out to me while she was in Vegas watching that year. And she goes, okay, I have some ideas, but I want you to do my fashion show. And as we went throughout the year, she kind of added a few more things. Oh, I want you to do, my horsemanship interview. Oh, I want you to do this. And it was the last one that we had talked about was the Wrangler outfit with the vest. And she calls me and I'll never forget it. She's like, this year we get a vest. I don't know what to do with it. And
That's pretty hard.
I remember telling her on the phone, I said, don't worry, I got this. And so she sent me a picture of the vest and I was like, oh, this is going to be difficult. This is going to be tricky because it was a boxy,
not
vest.
Even tailored.
Exactly. Just very boxy. How did she put it? She was like, oh, it's one of the timers. Or like the flaggers vests that you see in the arenas. And I was like, oh my gosh. Okay. So I kind of started to really think about like, okay, what could we possibly do? And I'm always one to, as I said, just kind of alter things as I wear them. So I have different jackets that I will flip backwards and I'll wear it backwards and have the back open on it, just for something a little different and edgy. And so that's when I was like, I bet that vest would look incredible backwards. And I started looking through different inspos and I remember seeing a Nudies shirt that he actually wore, Nudie Cohen.
Wow.
And it was very like, the front of the shirt was very boxy. It was very just like, it looked like it was a backwards vest. And so I was like, that's it. That's how we're going to do it. We're going to flip it backwards. I want her to put like another denim shirt underneath of it, make this really old cowgirl kind of vibe, put some like gaucho pants with it, kind of make her look like, one of the old time cowgirls. Thank you, National Cowgirl Museum and Hall of Fame for that inspo working there.
Yes.
And that's how it all came to be. But as I was kind of placing things on it or, thinking through it, she's like, well, it has to represent our state. And I'm like, oh my gosh, how perfect is it that turquoise is your state stone. Oh, perfect. So I got all of these turquoise squash blossoms and I started to just kind of mold it onto the vest and play with it. And I remember telling Emma, I think a backwards vest is ideal. And she trusted me throughout this whole entire process because she goes, I can't see it. And I even drew up a design for her, but she's still like, I can't see it, but I trust you. And I finally got it all put together. That was the first one that actually I finished just because I was so excited to do it. It was going to be just completely unique. And so that was the first one I sent off to her. And then once she got it, she was like, oh my gosh, I get it now. I totally get it. And it just was one of those pieces that, creatively, she gave me enough time to really think through it. She gave me all the right elements. And the fact that I knew her so well at that point that I knew that she could pull this off and do well with it. So,
well, you just set me up perfectly for the next thing I was curious about in your business, because you do, with your creative process, it comes and goes, I'm sure, just like anything that's creative. And you kind of almost have to study your clients. So what is your creative process? How do you, like, let's say you're going to design something for some big A-lister and you need it ready for like a red carpet or whatever. Do you pull from their style of who they are? Do you try to do something different? Talk us through your process there of styling and out.
the creative process is so funny because it does. It ebbs and flows. You can't force anything, at least in my opinion. You can't force anything. You have to allow it to come as it will. And a lot of the different stars, celebrities around here, you either work with them directly or you have to work with their stylist. So if you work with them directly, that's better because you can get to know them. They get to know you. They, will tell you, oh, I like this, or this is what I'm thinking. And then I can put my own spin on it. And, it's a great collaboration. But when you're working with their stylist, it gets a little, you get that middleman in there. So it's a little bit more difficult and it takes a little bit longer. The stylist will have, a lot of like mood boards and things they'll send you. But when it comes to working directly with the artist, they like to, tell you, okay, this is what I want. This is what I'm hoping for, different things like that. So, it's different no matter who you work with, but with Rodeo Queens, it's really easy because you get to work with them directly. And I love when the client, like Emma, for example, or Natalie Stovall, she's also like this. Jen Wayne, she's another one. They'll just say, this is what I want. I trust you. This is what we need.
Beautiful.
I want something. Yeah. I want a dress, or, I get really hot and I don't want to wear sleeves. So what can you do? But that's, kind of still edgy and flowy. So they kind of give me a direction and then I just run with it. So, I will always have, an arsenal of designs that I constantly either, draw, or I, have my own mood boards or inspiration. So when I am kind of struggling on a creative opportunity, that's when I will go back into there and see if there's anything that I can pull. Otherwise, I literally have to shut everything off and just focus on, okay, who is this person and what is something that's just gonna make them stand out? Because at the end of the day, Molly and Gidget, it's made for the girls who want to stand out. It's the girls who turn heads. It's the girls who don't look like everybody else and don't want to look like everybody else. So I don't study trends. I don't study, who's wearing what. And in fact, if a girl comes to me and says, and this has happened more than once, I want to look like Carrie Underwood, or I love Carrie Underwood's outfit. Can you do this outfit? Carrie Underwood has great style. Her stylist is next to none. And she's one of those people that I'm like, yes, Carrie Underwood is fabulous. But let's just look at, what's the body, or what's the main thing that you like that she's wearing? Is it a top? Is it a t-shirt? Is it a jacket? Is it denim? Is it leather? from there, we can take that base. And then I always say, let's create it for you and make you a fashion icon, not a Carrie Underwood replica, because there's only one Carrie Underwood. Not everybody can be Carrie Underwood. So I really encourage all of my clients that, just trust me on this, and let's make you the next big Carrie Underwood, or the next big fashion icon. So
Yeah.
It's a process and it's different with everybody. But I really try to make sure that it's, still true to my brand and true to whoever's wearing it. So
I love that you brought Carrie Underwood up, because I followed her for the longest time thinking I wanted her legs. And I
Mhm.
went to her trainer one time, and she was like, yeah, you can have everything in moderation. Like my
Yep.
husband, when he gets donuts, you can have a bite of his donut. And that was when I was lost. I was like, how do you just have one bite of a donut? You can't just
Yep.
eat the whole donut. Anyway, so I'm so glad you brought that up, because I totally understand what you're meaning, especially like in a world that, and I mean, country music in general is such a niche at times. And when people get so stuck on trends and trying to fit in, you lose sight of who you are and what you represent. And so
Yes.
that's so cool. That's what I love about you, obviously. But
Thank you.
yeah, no, of course. I can't help but remember, and I this is gonna go into my next question of like how you handle things. CMA Fest last year, we were trying to meet up, but you had I don't want to say a mishap, a styling emergency, let's say. So sometimes that's gonna happen. And you learned that in Rodeo Queen.
Yes.
You and I both understand, like, sometimes those jeans just ain't fitting, sweetheart. And that's like story of my life. Like, I cannot tell you how many times I've had to have like backup outfits and all that stuff.
Yep.
How do you handle I guess the stress of it? Is it even the stress? I don't even know what I'm asking. Like, how do you handle that when something like when plan A doesn't work? How do you make plan B work? Talk to us about the behind the scenes there. The stuff that we don't really.
Well, it's so funny because it goes back to, being a rodeo queen again, because you have to be ready for the unexpected. And that's one thing that, just being in rodeo and in the Western industry
Yeah.
and agriculture in general, you have to be ready for whatever life throws at you. And it can be highs and lows, and you just kind of have to ebb and flow and just be able to adjust accordingly, pivot and pivot well, is what I always
Yes.
say. And it's just, it takes practice a little bit, but as I said, I've fallen into it so easily because of my rodeo queen career,
Oh
and
yeah.
having a backup plan, and just knowing, okay, if jeans split or a zipper breaks, or what is the next backup that we can do, or what can I do to either sew somebody in, or
Yes.
I'm always ready. I have actually like a little toolkit that I take everywhere with me that has everything in it that I could, possibly use. The CMAs this year, when I worked with Jordan Davis's wife, we did so many fittings, and there were still little mishaps that were right up into the last minute that her stylist and I were, sewing her in and making sure all of these, it comes with practice, and it comes with just knowing that, fashion happens and stuff happens all the time, and you just be prepared for absolutely anything, and make sure you have, a little toolkit ready to
Yeah.
go. And then it's kind of like you get stuck in a winter storm, and this is going to show my South Dakota roots right here. You get stuck in a winter storm on a highway, having that preparedness kit is vital. And that's how I guess how I also look at it, as being, a fashion designer. You have to also have everything ready to go, at any time for that. So
Well, you handle it all well, especially because the finished product, you'd have no idea anytime anything ever happens. And that's like what makes you so good at your job. But
well,
um,
thank you.
we're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, we're going to learn about how to style and what to look for in concert festival outfits. So everyone stay tuned, and we'll be right back.
Since 1879, our iconic boots have been trusted on ranches, job sites, and beyond. Now we bring that legacy to our new Justin jeans. Our jeans are meticulously crafted from a blend of materials, offering uncompromised comfort and toughness. Boots, jeans, and clothes built for men who demand nothing less than craftsmanship and style. Find a retailer in your area at justinboots.com.
Hey, everybody, and welcome back. Thanks for listening to the Kick Your Boots Up podcast. If you like what you've heard so far, please feel free to like, subscribe, share it with your friends, tell everyone about TK. Go follow her now. We have so much more in store for you. And by the time this podcast episode will have come out, it's summertime. We're looking ahead to concerts. We're trying to find not only where we're going to spend all of our concert dollars, but what outfits we're going to spend it on. So, TK, talk us through how you recommend working with you as a designer in that level, getting the exclusive stuff, but then also maybe going into like our local boot barn or Cavender's or wherever we can find any inspo, even Hot Topic if that's what you want for a top. Talk to us about all of that. How do we find the signature pieces? How do we build the outfits? All of it.
Okay. Oh, this is such a loaded question. And
It's
one
big.
I'm,
Sorry.
it's great because this is where I get really jazzed up. So the listeners are probably going to be like, oh my gosh, this girl's like super jazzed up about festival, season and summer season. And it's just because specifically festival fashion you can just really let your personality shine and really kind of just go with loud and big outfits and things like that, which I absolutely love, obviously. But I always say that when it comes to, festival fashion or stage concert looks, however you want to kind of embody it, you want to have one standout piece, one centerpiece, and you want to build your outfit around that. That's my I guess my first piece of advice is to just find that one piece that, whether it's a fringe jacket or whether it's a denim jumpsuit or, if you want to build it around a vintage, t-shirt, whatever that is to you, put that first. And then from there, you can throw in basics or however you want it to look. I'm always one I like the jackets, or I like a really flashy top, or, and then from there, I usually layer like a basic white tank or a black tank with some, some shredded shorts or however. I always, kind of make it more basic. So then you can spend more money on that signature, that centerpiece, and then, save the rest of your budget for something less. When it comes to like fashion designer like myself, a custom piece, you obviously are going to be spending a little bit more money because it's going to be one of a kind. It's going to be custom to you. It's going to just, have your signature on it. And then, or if you want to go down, let's just say like the boot barn route or something to that effect, just find that one piece that's that standout piece, and then, as I said, build the rest with basics or kind of a more solid ground.
I couldn't agree more with you. And then I love hearing that too. And I remember specifically, I don't remember if you wore this or if someone you styled wore this, but it was a Guns N' Roses t-shirt, the vintage tee that you mentioned.
Yes.
Yeah. But then it also had, maybe you added your custom, whether that was like these fringe shoulder pads or it's the Diamonds of Dixie.
Yep. Diamond Dixie Girls. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. I remember that. It was
they
beautiful.
had thank you. They had a song come out called Guns N' Roses, I believe is what it was called. And so she came to me before that concert and was like, I want to wear a Guns N' Roses t-shirt. And I said, okay, well, I don't want it because I also, once again, remember Carrie Underwood wearing a Guns N' Roses t-shirt. Okay. So I'm like, how can we make it yours and something really unique? So I took a vintage t-shirt that I found, let's just say on eBay. I believe it was eBay. And I got it in no time. And I started looking at it. Okay, how can I make this unique to Gabriella? Gabriella is she likes the rhinestones. She likes fringe. She likes, when she's like she doesn't have to play a guitar. She can just move. So her movement, I wanted the shirt to have some movement to it. So when I put it all together, I had, some shoulder pads that had some fringe and some rhinestones on it that I put on it. And then the rest of the shirt, I just distressed it. I put some leather long fringe pieces all over it and then rhinestoned it with pearls. And it was very much her. So when I looked at it, I'm like, yes, it's a Guns N' Roses t-shirt, but this is Gabriella's Guns N' Roses t-shirt. So having that spin on it, that again, that personal style, so you're not copying or looking like somebody else, is so vital. And especially with festival fashion, again, just you can have so much fun and you can really let your personality show. And I think that's what's great about it. So.
Oh, definitely. And I've got to say, you're exactly right. It's so cool to hear your perspective on that outfit, because even the photos they capture the fringe flowing with the wind. And had you have not realized what kind of performer she was or taken the time to care, I don't think you would have missed something major, and she would have just gone out in a normal t-shirt like everyone else. And so I commend you there. That's super cool.
Thank you. Thank you.
I think you're like really good too about staying on top of your game. You're always a step ahead. That's what it just seems. Even if you feel like you're like, in the background, by the time whoever gets onto the red carpet, gets onto the stage, they look like $1 million. They looked finished, which is great for your brand. And so incorporating that back into like the festival as an attendee goer that's going to, like, let's say CMA Fest that's coming up. Or by the time this podcast will have come out, I don't know if it's already happened or not, but either way, let's just pretend that we're going to go there or something. What do you think is like the number one or top 5 things we should take with us? Like go back to your rodeo queen days of like, do you think, obviously rodeo queens, it was always like bobby pins and hairspray and all that. What do you think we should take with us to the festival?
Well, having been to CMA Fest and also having been to Coachella, I can tell you that less is more.
Okay.
Just because it is, with Coachella, you're out in the desert and it can be 100 degrees. And then by the end of the night, it's, 50 degrees.
Freezing.
So,
yeah.
Yep. So you have to, when thinking about your outfit too, you need to plan accordingly. If you need to bring like a bunch of things, I know at Coachella, you could, rent a locker and then shove a sweatshirt in there or whatever. Which is, something to think about. But if you're just going and, you don't want to take a lot, because a lot of these places, you can't have like your big bags, your backpacks, your, big purses, things like that. So I always say, make sure you have like some, face mist, because that helps you stay cool. It also keeps your skin dewy and hydrated, and that will also help with, you don't want to wear a bunch of makeup and things to these concerts and stuff, because by the end of the day, everybody's looking the same.
Melted.
But if you just keep your skin fresh and hydrated, I think that's the number one, because that right there is your base to the rest of your outfit. So making sure you have that. Safety pins would be number 2, having just a couple of safety pins.
Smart.
Because you never know when like a button will fall off or, something happen, just wardrobe malfunctions. So I always make sure I pin a safety pin to like my little purses or something like that. And then have a couple of them just kind of hanging off. So it kind of looks like fringe.
Yeah.
So that you have
style, but also functional.
Exactly. So you have that in your arsenal. Number 3, I would say have some of those, those inserts that you can put in your shoes. And don't wear shoes you can't walk in or can't stand in for more than an hour. Like that's so vital. Cowboy boots, shout out to Justin Boots for this. I love wearing cowboy boots to festivals. They're comfortable. I can stand in them all day, thank God.
I know,
I can
right?
walk in them, and you guys have something that's great, like the J Flex, because they have that nice little cushioning in them, and then you don't have to worry about padding. But if you are unfortunate and don't have any Justin Boots, make sure you get one of those.
Stilettos to the
Exactly. Make sure you have the inserts to that. And then number 5, I would say, once again, I would do something with your outfit where you can have layers. So whether that's like having a base, like a tank top as a base, and then wrapping a longer sleeve shirt around your waist, or like at Coachella, I wore one day, I wore kind of a sequin top with feathers on it. And it was black. I was wearing all black that day. Probably not the greatest, but I was actually quite cool because the top was more see-through and breathable. I think just constantly going around and to all these different stages, wherever you are, you're going to want to be able, you're going to be walking, you're going to be sweating. So having things that are breathable, like me, unfortunately, this might be TMI, but I tend to sweat out in the summertime. So I like to have, you know, things that don't show that, but yet breathable, and I can still be cool and things like that. So those would be my top 5 recommendations for when attending festivals.
Wow, TK, thank you for breaking it down for us. I'm like actually taking mental notes in my head too. I'm like, okay, that's actually really smart. You know, just making sure of everything, because you're right. I mean, most of the time you have to have like a clear bag, or you barely even have enough pockets for your phone. So make something that you can like do and use, and wow, all of it. Thank you for being a wealth of knowledge. And I mean,
you learn the hard way by going to these enough that, you know, I'm just like, well, here you go. This is what I've learned. So
yeah, please take it from me. Please. Yes. I love that so much. And the face mist is so key. You're so right. I didn't even think about that. But even being in Nashville, working the events, not even trying to be cute or go for fun. I remember thinking like, wow, even though it's Nashville and you would think it's so humid, I wish I did have like this extra little. So I'm like, okay, adding the setting spray to my list.
Do that.
Anyways, thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy day. I know you have a lot going on. You just announced the time of filming. Obviously, by the time the podcast is out, we're already well on our way. But you just announced that your books are closed for styling for CMA Fest. So that's exciting. I know you have a lot of big projects, and your future is so bright. And I am just so honored to get to breathe your air at this point in time through the Zoom, through the camera. So thank you for your time. Thank you for being awesome. And for, like you said in the very beginning, you know, pouring into others and continuing it for other generations, whatever that is, rodeo queening, music industry, fashion in general. Thank you for paving the way and not doing it unwaveringly, not settling for anything, and posting your motivational quotes. Sometimes, like we were just talking off camera, like when trying to train for running things, like sometimes I just read one of your quotes and I'm like, yes, let's go. I can do this. So
same. And it's so important to surround yourself with positive people. And that's one thing, you know, I'm so blessed with, is that my inner circle and my core people like yourself, you guys just lift me up when I feel down, and being able to consume that on social media is so vital. So, I mean, I hope everybody listening finds those people that lift them up and keep them positive and keep them moving forward, because we need more of that. We need more love in this world. And thank you for being that one to me.
Well, yes, I think we help each other out more than we each know it. I mean, truly, yes, thank you. We do need that. We do need each other, lifting each other up. And speaking of that, she is really good about posting, like I said, motivational quotes or boss babe things, or even just some projects and sneak peeks. I love the sneak peeks. So if you can give her a follow, go ahead over at Instagram, Molly and Gidget. Do you have a Facebook too? Facebook?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. Just Molly and Gidget. Yep.
Okay. And then also her website is super cool. I know from time to time she'll get to do some like sample sales, which you're going to want to get in on, because that's like a rare find. So if you want to, her website is www.mollyandgidget.com. You can ask questions, follow her, follow along all through festival concert season. Follow for the award shows. I'm here, I will say, TK, for your social media. I'm here after every award show, ready for your recaps of like your favorites, or me even not dislikes in like the way of like tearing them down, but like what would you change here, things like that. I'm all for it. So we need more red carpet content, award shows, Grammys. We need all of that. So thank you. And if you guys would like to go follow along, do that as well. As always, we're so thankful that you are listening to the Kick Your Boots Up podcast. I've said it a million times and I'll say it a million more until you do it. Like, subscribe, tell your friends about this podcast. And also feel free to comment below and tell us who you want to see on the podcast. We're so excited that you're listening, and we look forward to seeing you the next time you kick your boots up. Thanks for joining us on Kick Your Boots Up. I'm your host, Taylor McAdams, and we can't wait to share the next story of the West. Until then, feel free to like, subscribe, and leave us a review. Follow us on social media at Justin Boots to keep up with our next episode. And we'll see you the next time you kick your boots up.